Hello and welcome to the Hustle Over Everything podcast. Today I'm sitting here with Sefunmi Osinaike.
Bang, bang, we got it.
Amazing, you got the name perfect.
Boom. And he is the co-founder of Colab. Join colab.co, is it?
.io.
.io.
Yeah.
Ins and outs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you.
And we're here to talk about his journey, building a business, being an author. I'm really excited, but for the people, could you give the people a 1-minute summation of who you are and some of the things you do?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Sefunmi Osinaike. I went to the University of Waterloo and my background is in electrical engineering, but I wanted to transition into tech because I was very fascinated by all the stuff that was happening in Silicon Valley. I had no skills in terms of knowing how to code or knowing how to design, but ultimately what I tried to do was try to build something with a group of friends. So that helped me kickstart my career in product management. So I ended up working at top tech companies such as like Microsoft and Apple, and then other smaller startups, both in Toronto and the Bay Area. And after that, I published a book called How to Product, which is stories on how you can transition into product management from outside the industry, which then gave us the motivation to start Colab, which is essentially an online school that helps career switchers transition into tech from outside the industry by providing them with real-world experience. So we're focused on project-based learning. We want people to feel confident, competent, and know that they have all the skills that they need to successfully transition and succeed in the tech industry. So that's what I spend most of my time doing now as one of the co-founders of the company. So yeah, that's like a little quick intro about who I am. Outside of work, big soccer fan, Manchester United fan. I play soccer as well. Love food, love eating. So I like trying new places. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Man, I got to give you this, man. That's one of the best elevator introductions we've ever had on the show.
I did not practice it, actually. I have like, I try to like think about, when people ask me to introduce myself, I honestly don't even have like a script. So I just like say whatever makes sense and hopefully like it flows. And I guess today's intro flowed.
Yeah, man, that sounded clean, man. So to kick things off, man, we know you're an entrepreneur. We know you're a product manager. But what sparked that entrepreneurial spirit inside of you?
That's actually interesting. I don't know how to answer that question. I feel like it's like when you got it, you got it. That sounds very
So when you
cocky.
feel it, you feel it.
When you feel it. Because growing up, my dad is an entrepreneur. So he's the one person in my family that I'd never seen him work a job ever since I could remember. He had his own thing. So I think that was inspiring. And I think when I was younger, honestly, it was just like the hustle, man, just like trying to fill your time and trying to do something. So I was always the guy with like ideas, or just always trying to hustle, always trying to like make money one way or another. So I think like that is what started it. I think like when you just have that drive to do something outside of the ordinary, and then I think you just like nurture that over time and you find opportunities and more things to do. And then you build up on your entrepreneurial skills. So I would say like perhaps like my dad was like the biggest influence because that's what I could see. But I think then my environment, just being the hustler, just being like trying to find and fill my time with things I found different ideas or different projects to do. And then that's what kind of like kickstarted the desire to just wanting to build something or solve a problem or have like a bigger impact beyond what I could just do on my own.
Gotcha.
What was some of your earlier hustles?
So the one that I can remember that actually like made sense, in high school I used to sell textbooks.
In high school, not in college?
Yeah, used textbooks. So
Is this in Nigeria or in Canada?
No, not in Nigeria, in Canada. Like, so when we had like our foundation year before going into uni, I was like selling textbooks, because you finish a course and you bought this you buy a brand new textbook for like $180, $150, and like you're not using this anymore, so you want to like sell it. So like I'll buy books from people for like $80 and sell it for like 100. So I was doing that. Like I had like 2 semesters where I was doing that, and I remember one time that I got good at it, that there was one particular guy who he graduated and he was leaving the program, and after seeing me do it for a few months, he gave me a whole suitcase of textbooks that he had just like acquired from other people. He was like, bro, just like take it.
Just go
Like,
ham.
yeah,
And he
just
didn't
go
want anything
ham.
back.
No, he did. I gave him his cut, which like in hindsight, like I gave him like, I think I only took like 30%. I gave him like 70% or something like that, which I guess fair deal. But I think during that time, during that house, I think I made like about like almost $1,000. And that was just like hustling. Again, it's just like $20 here, $30 there, $50 here, and they all add up.
Yeah.
So I had, and I know people will just like come to my door and be like, oh, for me, we're looking for this textbook. Do you have it? And even if I didn't have it, I'll be like, I got it. And I'll make sure I'll go and find it. So I'll say that was like my earlier hustle. So it was like CIC, Columbia International College in Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of international students who come to Canada, they end up going there.
It's a boarding school.
Yeah, it's like a boarding school.
I went to boarding
In
school
Hamilton,
too.
right?
Yeah, in Hamilton. Yeah. So I did that for a bit. So that was fun. And it was, again, it's like hustling. Like, and I'm just like trying to find. I remember there was this particular pre-calc textbook that I was looking for, and it was very rare. Like no one had it, and I remember just like going through like almost door to door, asking people. I was like, yo, do you have this? And I finally found it with some student, and like I honestly just made $20 on that book, but I was so proud that I could get it for the person that wanted it, because I was like, yeah.
It's all about that customer service.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
You
So
know?
that was like, I guess, like my first real hustle that actually brought in money. I've also been like a photographer before. So in uni, I started this like photography gig where like I'll take pictures of people or do events. I make a couple $100 every event that I did. It was called 42 Storm. So I was doing that with a friend of mine. So I was always just like trying to do something, you know, whether it's like creative or just like to make extra money on the side. So I'll say like those are like the two hustles that at least has generated like over $1,000 like in its entirety, and yeah, it was very interesting and fun, and I think you learn something from each of those experiences that ultimately builds to something bigger and larger.
So now you graduate, you go to Waterloo.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that moment. You got to Waterloo. What did you see? How did you feel? And like, what are the steps you took to, you know, expedite your entrepreneurial journey from there? Yeah,
so Waterloo, again, I would say like Waterloo is like top 5 life experiences that I've had. It was extremely difficult for no reason. It's very challenging.
Like the coursework or just?
Yeah, the coursework and just everything, the environment,
student
everything.
life.
It was just like student life. It's quite difficult.
Yeah, honestly. I've always wondered, like, how is the student life there? Because KW, the Kitchener-Waterloo area, there's not a lot of nightlife for students especially. So you're stuck within like one like radius. How is that like juggling like the intensities of school and then also trying to have a social life? Yeah,
so I think like if you just have a strong friend group that can like keep you going. But if you're someone that loves activities and you want to do other stuff outside of the campus, you're not going to get a lot of things to do, which can be disappointing. So Waterloo was like tough coursework. I remember there was one semester that I had like 40 hours of classes every week, and that's outside of like the labs and assignments and tutorials that you had to do. So Waterloo was quite difficult, I must say, but honestly, very grateful for that experience because number one, Waterloo is incredibly difficult to get into. Once you even graduate, I feel like there is a certain level of prestige that you feel, and I still feel that because like I went to Waterloo, so I'm grateful for that. There's a certain level of confidence that you also feel, not just getting in, but staying in and eventually graduating. So my Waterloo experience, and particularly my entrepreneurial experience in Waterloo, birthed from the first year. So in Waterloo, in the engineering program, in order to advance to the next semester, you need to maintain an average of 60%, which seems like 60%, like, of course, like it makes sense, right? I went to high school, used to get in like 90s and 100s or high 80s.
You're like a high achiever.
Yeah, you know, it was just like high school was like, okay, cool. And everyone around you is like the same, like top 1% or 5% in their class, in this engineering class. And now you get hit with your first 30 or 40 in your midterms and you're like freaking out. Mm-hmm. So after my first midterm, I was like, bro, I might fail. Like I might have to drop out of this program. And we're all feeling that way. And an interesting stat is like after the first semester, 80% of the international students that we started with failed the first semester in the engineering department. 80%. At least 80%. That when I calculated, it was 80%. And that stayed with me. I remember how I said 60% was the average. My grade after that first time was 60.5. I can never forget. Like all the courses that I took that year, Waterloo 2012, I remember every single grade and my average was 60.5.
You scraped by.
Just scraped by.
Damn, bro.
But a lot of other friends that I had didn't eventually make it. So I was like, damn, I got to do something about this. And I was like, also for myself too, because like this is cutting it too close. So I was like, I'm going to solve this problem. And immediately the Waterloo environment, you see that folks are building apps. A lot of people are in like Silicon Valley. We had this accelerator called Velocity, and it was great because like you could do a startup while you're a student, and essentially glamorize the whole, you know, you're in college but you can drop out, pursue this company, and maybe it will get bought out someday, or you grow into this.
You like raise a lot of money.
Yeah, because like BlackBerry came from Waterloo, Kick Interactive, the old messenger tool, came from Waterloo, Ted Livingston. So like you're surrounded by that, and you're like, huh? Instacart. But even at that time, I guess I didn't know about Instacart at that time, but I guess he was working. He was working on it. So just like being surrounded by that, I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be one of those people. And my problem that I'm going to solve is helping people be better at their grades and be better at like passing and whatever. Just I wanted to just help students like myself and the 80% of my friends that didn't make it. So that's sort of like the environment that first year got to me. And what I did was at that time I took two of my closest friends in Waterloo at that time, and we're like, okay, we're gonna try and build this app. Again, we didn't talk to any other person. We just assumed that this is the solution. And for us, the hypothesis at that time was students were spending too much time on Facebook and YouTube or blah, whatever, and not spending time studying. So we're going to create this anti-distraction tool that will block you from using all those social media apps so that you can study, which, again, in hindsight, was definitely not the right way to go. But again, naive young folks, you're like, this is it. You're not going to tell anybody about the idea, and you're going to build it. And that was my plan from the first year of University of Waterloo.
I want to ask you this. So as a high achiever in high school, elementary school, you've been like top A student. How did you deal with that identity part of transitioning to university and actually being exposed to adversity of not achieving those high grades anymore? Did you feel like this fraudulent feeling, or did you feel like, nah, I got to get over this? What was your mindset at that point? Like when you're averaging a 60, when you've just been a 90 student your whole life?
It was tough, honestly. It was really hard to navigate. And the sad part of it is like it didn't even stop in first year. And I think there's a certain level of acceptance that you have to accept at some point. And I think there's a certain level of reframing that I had to do. But I remember after one of my finals in my dorm, I don't even know how this happened. I was sitting on top of my fridge in my dorm. And I remember calling my mom, and I was like, "Yeah, Mom, I failed this program. I just wanted to give you a heads up." I was just letting her know that, you know, it's a wrap, because this was the hardest exam I'd written in my life. And I didn't even finish it. So I was like, there's no way I'm passing this course. And if I don't pass this course, I knew how the other exams went. I had, I think, 2 or 3 more. And I think what she told me really impacted me for the rest of that period and beyond. She was like, look, okay, you've written this exam, it's fine. You don't feel good about it. Focus on the next one. Just like forget about what you've done. Just focus on the next one. And I think that mentality really helped me. Just like, do you know what? Whatever is done is done. You can't change it. You've left the exam hall. There's no point worrying. So I just like went back to study, and honestly, again, I passed, and passing is all that matters. Like at some point you start to learn that, you know, as long as you just keep moving forward. And I think it was until third year that I realized that, like, hey, like, employers don't care about your grades. Like, it wasn't until then. So I started reframing a lot of the things in my mind. I was like, look, just pass, focus on getting better jobs or getting better co-ops, and set yourself up for the real world, who they wouldn't care about your 60 or 60.5 if you can show them that you can actually do the job. So I think that helped me versus, like, again, in high school, they glamorize, like, okay, being a top A student, because that's the peak that you can reach in high school, because, like, you need that to get into the best colleges. But when you get to college or university, what you need to advance to the real world isn't necessarily grades. It can be if you want to do like master's or PhD, of course you need the grades. But if you want to go into the industry and work in whatever profession, then you should maximize getting real experiences. And if those real experiences, you can get that in your course, focus on those courses. But if you can get that in like internships, volunteering, like, I would prioritize that. So I think I got to learn that later on as I advanced in Waterloo. And then so I just stopped worrying about, like, I was like, oh, 60 here, 60 there. I was like, as long as we pass, we move.
Yeah.
That was my mentality. Yeah.
Got you.
Most definitely, man. So when did you start Colab?
So Colab didn't come until, now I'm trying to do math, 3 years after I graduated. So I started in 2020. Colab started in 2020.
Oh, this is COVID, baby.
Yeah, COVID. Yeah, exactly. COVID, baby. Yeah, right. Yeah. And honestly, if I'm being honest, I didn't even, at that time, I didn't even want to start Colab. I was not in the mentality or in the right mindset to start a company, because I'd done a company while I was in Waterloo, or at least tried, based off of, the story that I mentioned of trying to solve that problem. So I tried and I failed at a previous company, and that does a lot to your confidence. And I wanted to make sure that if I was going to start another company, I almost wanted to like pick me, or I wanted to like, I need that energy to be,
it's like natural. It needs to come out of you.
Natural, and needs to come out of me, like, yo, almost like a calling that, yo, you have to do this. Like, it's the right time, right environments, right everything. So I think like a lot of the stars had to align for that. And for the longest time, it didn't align. And I think when I was even seeing the signs before Colab started, I was ignoring them because I was tired. Pandemic happened, people got laid off, people were dying, and this was like 2020. I just released a book, and the book, when I wrote the book, or when I was writing the book, I was just like, I wrote the book for two reasons. Number one, I wanted to give back to the product community because I struggled to get into product. So I was like, I want this to be a resource for anyone who wants to get into product management. They can read this, they can benefit from this, and they can hopefully land their next product management job. Because I was doing the same thing, having coffee conversations with people, answering the same questions. So I wanted to, answer that in a way that was more scalable. So I was wanting to do that. And the second reason was like, I also wanted to do it for myself, because I think this was like a big enough project that I wanted to even prove to myself that I can do. I was like, okay, you can write, like, okay, writing a book. How do you write a book? Can you write a book? Mm-hmm. And I was like asking myself these questions. And I was like, okay, I think I can write a book. So I wanted to almost prove to myself that, okay, you can do it. So it's like these two things. After I had done that, I was like, I need to rest. I'm tired. But I remember while writing the book, the editor of the book, he was telling me, yo, Sefunmi, this is such a great book. What are you doing after this book? And I was like, I don't have any plans. It's like, are you sure? You should. What's the game plan? You should do this. I remember him telling me this 3 times. I was like, I just want to chill, blah, blah. After I launched the book, I launched it on Product Hunt. It was #1 product of the day when we launched it on April 17, 2020. And someone who was advising me, and I have to like shout her out, Chioma Ifeanyi Okoro. Chioma, yeah.
Chioma's the one who, she's the one who pushed
So she
you.
was advising me before the book, because again, I was like telling her that, man, after this book, I just want to chill. So she helped me with my launch strategy. I launched the book, and I kid you not, every week after that book launched, Chioma messaged me asking me the same question. Bro, what is your plan after this book? What is your plan after this book? The book did well. What are you doing with it? Every week, every single week, she messaged. It's so interesting. And I thank God for her, because you almost have people who can see things that you can't see. And what she was seeing was an opportunity. What the editor, Tevis, was seeing was also an opportunity staring in front of me. And But I didn't want to listen to any external factors until I had felt it myself, because I already told myself. And I think after the book released, like I got like a swarm of emails, LinkedIn messages, like DMs, and people asking me more questions like, hey, how do I like get into product? Can you help me? I read your book, it was helpful, but I have a few more questions. Could you help me? And I was getting like more and more of that, but I kept telling the same thing. I was like, hey, just read the book, like form a strategy, but it wasn't enough. And I think that's when I realized that, hey, you can actually help more people if you like sit down and think of a better way to help solve their problem. And my co-founder and I, before even writing the book, we had talked about it in 2018, 2 years before the book launch, about if we wanted to create a product management program, this is how, like, what is it going to be like? And that's when the idea of Colab actually came. It was me and Helen back in 2018 doing research into the product management space and realizing that there was a gap in the way people learn product management, and it needs to be, or there was even a gap in the way people broke into tech. Yeah, so it wasn't just product management. It was like tech as a whole, but we were looking at it from a product management lens at that time. And so we had this idea to create this program where product managers, product designers, software engineers are like working together. And so I remember waking up 5 a.m., going for a walk. This was also during COVID, like shortly after the book launch. I think this was like, so I launched the book in April. This was in like late June.
What's the book called?
How to Product. It's called How to Product.
Oh, okay.
So I was walking around at 5 a.m. just like thinking about this problem, thinking about all the messages I was getting, thinking about what Chiama was like telling me. And then the idea came back, and it was like, I think this is the right time. So I came back after my walk. I think I walked for like an hour or two, because like I started when the sun was down and eventually went up. I messaged Helen, and I was like, I sent like a long block of text. I was like, hey, I think this is like what we're going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to like test it and validate this. I think I'm going to do this. And again, we talked about it, me and her, and she was like, hey, good, cool, do it. And then that's when I was like, around like late June, early July, I was like, yeah, we're going to start something. It wasn't called Colab at that time, but it's what Colab ended up being. But at that time, I was like, yep, I feel confident. I feel like I can solve this problem. I know that I can do it. There's an opportunity here, and there's going to be success. So that conviction and that confidence, it's something that even till today, I reflect on, and I try to channel some of that energy, because the way that I felt at that time, I knew it was going to work, and I just can't explain it. And I was like, wow, like even though I had some roadblocks trying to like get it off the ground, there was a certain level of conviction that I felt that, hey, this is going to work. And because I felt like everything was just like,
it was like divine intervention.
Yeah, it was almost like, I felt like I said, I wanted it to call me. So, yeah, and then 2 years later, or over 2 years later, we're still growing. I mean, it's still challenging, but learning a lot, learning every day.
Yeah. Before getting deeper into Colab, I just want to educate the audience a little bit about product management, right? Yep. It's a very ambiguous title, and a lot of things can mean a lot. But what does a product manager do?
Yeah, that's a good question. My favorite question. So to simplify product management and what product managers do, in every tech company, it boils down to two main roles. The product manager is in charge of trying to figure out what the customer wants and how to deliver that want to them. Like, simply put, like, that is your job as a product manager in every single company, whether you're doing SaaS, whether you're doing services, whether you're doing hardware or software or anything else. Like, customers have problems. What are those problems? How do you identify those problems? Good product managers know how to identify those problems effectively. They know how to tie that back to a business opportunity that, if we solve this problem, this is the business opportunity for us. We can make X amount of money, or we can gather this much data, or we can capture this much attention, and then it translates into other things. And then the next step is like, okay, great. Now that we know this problem, what solution is going to actually solve this problem that we can get into their hands in an effective, scalable way, and you're doing that work to try and figure out, what can we do. Again, we have like mobile phones, and most people are spending most of their time on these mobile phones. So most of the time you're thinking about how to get that solution through the mobile phone, for example. So that's when you then build apps and whatever. If there's a different form factor, like think about times where we didn't have mobile phones and it was computers, people were building, PC apps or web apps or websites to help solve those problems. So it's not about, hey, I want to like build a mobile app, iOS app, or whatever. It's more about solving their problems and knowing how you can actually deliver that to them. And this is even without thinking about the kinds of people that you interact with. But product management is a very cross-functional, cross-disciplinary role, because you're interacting with like so many people: engineering, design, sales, marketing, customer support, legal, policy. And you need to be good with people. You need to have excellent communication, because you're almost trying to simplify that thing and make sure that your counterparts understand it based off of the problem that you're trying to solve and how you're trying to deliver that solution to them to move some form of like customer value. So hopefully that explains it very well. That's like obviously like a simple, like an oversimplification, but that is what product management is. So if you're an extremely great problem solver, if you can see things other people can't see, that's sort of like what makes you unique. And I think there's a lot of similarities between product managers and entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are also solving customer problems. As a product manager, you're just doing it, in a defined space. If you're working at a financial company, you're trying to figure out like financial products. But as an entrepreneur, when you're in this like wide ocean, so like what kind of problem do you even want to solve? You're in charge of defining your space, picking your market, and then sort of like going for it. So there's a lot of like parallels there, which is why good product managers can eventually become entrepreneurs. And I do think a lot of the things that I learned while being a product manager have taken that into building a company, and how do I structure things, and how do I even solve customer problems, even though what I'm doing at Colab was extremely different from the kinds of products that I've previously built in the past.
No, that's beautifully said. So do you have like a launch strategy when you were launching Colab?
Not really, actually. So we had a launch strategy for the book, which was good. And in hindsight, I say this to my co-founder a lot, like, if we knew we wanted to start Colab immediately after the book, I think I would have done a couple things differently. But the best launch strategy that we used is we piggybacked off of the book. So a lot of the audience that we curated or we got from the downloads of the book, we used that to help our very first 2 cohorts to fill those up by getting people who had already identified that, hey, they're interested in product management. So we're able to like get the first 2 cohorts like up and running easily. But beyond that, I think we had to like re-strategize over again. So having that distribution channel helped us create the MVP for how can we deliver that solution to customers. But then I think after the second cohort, we had to like find a different way and different strategy to find customers, and we're still refining that even till today, like 2 years in.
Most definitely.
Like when you got the product hunt product of the day, is there a way you can scrape that data from the people who or got the book or downloaded it and get those emails? Is that?
Yeah, so I captured those emails that of the people who downloaded the book. So I think that was the main thing, because like my hypothesis was I was like, okay, this book, I'm gonna put it as a free resource, but to get it, obviously you just put in your email. So that is like an indicator for like, okay, this book is about product management. It's very clear that it's about product management. So there's the thought that, some people who are downloading this book probably already are product managers. Some people might just be curious. Some people might be interested in product management. So it's like, okay, how do we then find out who's who? So then you start like email marketing and trying to like segment people and try and figure out like who is who. So I think that's what we did for the earlier parts of Colab, to try and figure out who is who. And kind of tell them more about this offering. Because like, hey, you downloaded this book, hopefully you found it valuable. In the next step of your journey, you can actually gain real world experience. And we're trying to like explain the problem in the best way possible, in the easiest way possible, because a lot of programs out there, and university is the big reason for this, is like, hey, get a certificate, get a certification. And a lot of people think, if I have this certification, if I put it on my resume, I'm going to land this job. And that is never true for pretty much like 95% of the jobs that are out there. So being able to communicate that clearly, that hey, you do not need a certificate. What you need is real experience. What you need is to actually build something real. What you need is to be able to work with a designer and a developer on a cross-functional team. What you need to do is solve a real customer problem. So being able to like explain that in a simple, effective way that can resonate with them, I think that was the big challenge early on. So after we did that, we were able to like get folks in the very first, and I think the very first cohort, we had 9 PMs who signed up with us.
9 students?
9 students.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just like 9 students, PM specifically. And because that's sort of like where we started, and then we had to do like a lot of work to even figure out how we can match them with designers and developers, because that was like a big part of the equation that we hadn't yet figured out. That Helen came on and drove and really like knocked that out of the park, because that's what actually made Colab real. And then after that, then we had like a more integrated program. We're thinking about it from all 3 lenses of not just product management, product design, software development, which are the core roles for product development. And started like working towards what we can do to serve all of them better, create a curriculum around all 3 of them, and help guide and provide support for all 3 of them.
Walk us through, as a product manager, someone who's aspiring to be a product manager, when I sign up for Join Colab, like what's the pricing? How did you define the pricing structure? How do you walk them through the tracks of like step 1, step 2, step 3? How did you define what that program is going to look like? And also, what made you feel like that was a successful way to do it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think the biggest, and this isn't novel or anything. And I don't think that, I don't go around saying, Colab is doing something that's like absolutely unique and world-changing. I think a lot of things that we're doing is very impactful. But in all honesty, and this is something I tell people for free, like what we do in the Colab program simulates what we do in the Colab program simulates what you do in the job. So what we just did was look closely at how product managers work in the real world, in the real industry, from not just my experience, from other product managers' experience. While I wrote the book, I spoke to 40 different product managers. After that, I had other conversations with almost, probably at this point, over 200 product managers. And understanding what they do in their day-to-day was very influential in how we design the program, because what we tell our students is like we simulate what it feels like to work at a real tech company. So we bring the good and the bad, and we try to strip away a lot of the noise, and we try to then create a safer environment that you can sort of like walk through all the things that you do at the job before you get the job. So then when you're speaking to hiring managers, you're talking at like you've done the job before. And I think that's what a lot of people don't have when they're applying for jobs. You hear the same thing over and over again. You need more experience, because they're going and they're like talking about some high level sense of what they think the role is. They've read blog posts, they've read books, and even other people are just like talking to them about frameworks. Use this framework to prioritize, blah, blah, blah. And it's not real. That's not what you do in the real world environment. I mean, yes, some companies use frameworks, but a lot of them don't abide by it. So we pick the best parts of what makes a company run and what product managers actually do, the commonalities that we found in hundreds of these companies in their product management practice. And we've designed a program that would walk you through every step. But we've also obviously condensed it, because product management projects can last a year, 2 years, 3 years, multiple quarters. It depends on the project. But we've condensed that into 2 programs. One is the sprint program, which essentially walks you through product strategy. So product strategy is the first part of product management. As I mentioned, being able to understand what the customer problem is. What is the so I don't know why I started laughing all of a sudden. Sorry, don't mind me. Customer problem. What is the problem that your customer is going through? How do you do user research? How do you talk to them effectively and find these pain points that they're experiencing? And then you're almost kind of like documenting that and having like a good understanding of the discovery process. So that is very vital. And that is like a 4-week program where you've actually spent time thinking about the problem that you're trying to solve. After you do that, so think about that as like product management fundamentals, setting the foundation for what it is that you're going to do moving forward, because there's no point identifying the wrong problem and then spending time building the wrong thing. Because again, product managers in the real world, if you identify a wrong problem, even though you have the best developers, the best resources, and companies get this wrong all the time, whereby they build a product, they release it, and it flops. That means like the problem wasn't in the execution, was in the problem definition. So we have that program to help prepare people for that. And now there's the core Colab program. So that one is for product managers only. Now the core Colab program is when you're taking some of those learnings there and you're executing it with a team. Mm-hmm. So we then match you with 2 engineers, a designer, and a mentor, and over 8 weeks. And we've condensed the entire product development lifecycle into 8 weeks, where you validate, define, design, and develop something, and eventually ship something that people can use. That's one of the things that we emphasize. Scope down your project, ship it, make it live, and allow people use it. When people use it, even if it's 5 people, you can take that to an interview and say, look, you've solved this problem and 5 people are using it. And you can even say with your chest if you actually solve the problem or not. But those learnings are very valuable for hiring managers, because now you're talking like a real product manager. You've taken their feedback and you know how you can improve. So that is sort of like what the program is like on a week-to-week basis. You have the accountability, you have the submissions, you do all the things that you normally do at work, with a lot of guidance, giving you even a safe space to fail, to pivot, to start again if you want. So we've pretty much just like made it like how it is in the workplace. And so for people who, don't have the time or resources to join our program, I tell them like what you should do is, I tell them exactly what I just said. Find a problem and solve it for a customer, right? I tell this to them for free. If you don't have access to developers and designers, join communities, reach out to people, network, and find people that you can build with. Of course, that's very difficult to do, right? You don't always have time to get people and rally people around. So what Colab does is like we try to make it easy, because everyone is vetted, everyone has the skills, everyone is enthusiastic, and everyone is really excited to build something. So we form the team for you. So you're coming in as an individual, and then you have this team of people that are working with you, building something real with you, and it's really incredible. And Colab students have built incredible products like Chrome extensions, mobile apps, text messaging services, chatbots, web apps, Mac OS apps. And this is me focusing on the solution. I can go into detail as the kinds of different products people have built, but ultimately it's impressive to see what people who are trying to transition, giving them an environment where they can actually thrive, and they're learning and they're doing and they're building and they're confident, and they can land jobs at the Googles, the Apples, the Microsoft, the Amazons. We have students in all of these companies, and in such a short time frame. Again, we've only been around for 2 years. Seeing that really warms my heart to recognize the impact that we're making. So I'm happy about what we do. And anytime I feel down, I tweeted this the other day. I reach out to our students and I speak to them and I try to understand, hey, how are they doing? How do they feel about the experience? And, getting that energy. And even if some of them who haven't found jobs yet, the confidence that they feel, they're like, do you know what? Like, I can do this. Like before my interviews, I used to feel terrible after, because I have all these questions that are thrown at me. I don't know the answers to them, or I'm not even getting past the first round. And now they're like, I feel much more confident. Like, even though I don't get to the next round, like I'm answering these questions like I have done it before. Mm-hmm. And that is just like a difference.
Priceless.
It's very priceless. Yeah. And eventually I always tell them that it takes time, you get there. So which is why we try to support people as much as possible, and we're trying to make sure that folks land jobs as soon as they complete the program. It's one of the things that we really want to focus on in the next year. So yeah.
To be a product manager, are there any technical skills you have to possess?
This really isn't a technical. So to answer your question, I'll say no. You don't need to have a computer science background or a technical background to be a product manager. To be a product manager, you have to be extremely good at problem solving. You need to have the desire to learn. You have to be enthusiastic. You have to be curious, right? And thinking about your customers all the time. Your customers need to be top of mind. So you need to care about what those customers care about, even though the things that they care about might be technical. So my co-founder, Helen, she has an earth science background. And while she was at Microsoft and later on GitHub, she was working on extremely technical products, like products that developers use. And she was never a developer, but she was an outstanding product manager. And that's because she was curious enough to spend time understanding what her customers wanted to do, asking the right questions, and you learn. You don't have to like know how to code, but you have to like listen to people, understand what their pain points are, watch what they do closely, and you get motivated and excited to solve their problems. So by communicating effectively, by asking the right questions, you can gather all the information and the context around the problems that you're trying to solve and then propose it to the people that will execute it. Because ultimately, as a product manager, once you understand why something is wrong, you just need to communicate to your developer or your dev lead or whatever that, hey, this is the problem. And then they would implement it and they know what they need to do, the steps they need to take that will actually solve it. You don't need to know how to, like, the code that they write that is going to actually impact it. So it's all about the mix of, being curious, being inquisitive, being enthusiastic, being customer focused, and knowing how to solve problems for people. It's almost like troubleshooting. And think about it as like, all these million Lego pieces and you're trying to like build something and put something together, and you just have to be extremely good at like spotting the right sets of pieces and putting them together and seeing if it actually like forms like a nice structure that you're going towards. So having that vision or having that understanding of where you're going also helps.
Yeah, that's huge. Now I want to get into really like building the business, One thing I'll take a quick step back, so I thought there's a valuable point that I want to share with the audience, is that you found that Trend Hunter was the best place to distribute your book, right? And from that, it was a lead magnet that you used to capture emails that you then got basically for free, and then use that to market and build your business off of.
Yeah.
Right? So I just wanted to highlight that because I thought that was like a stroke of genius that you did. And quickly, when it comes to Trend Hunt, do you have to pay to get your product on there?
To Product Hunt?
Product Hunt, my apologies. Product Hunt,
no
my
worries.
apologies.
No, you don't. So
it's free.
So it's free, yeah. So it's so interesting, and there are several reasons why I picked Product Hunt. And, in hindsight, I will still do the Product Hunt launch, but I think there are other ways and other channels that I would have launched that could also have been just as effective, right? I think what is important is you have a distribution channel where a lot of people can know about your product at once. I think Product Hunt was very interesting because I had a mentor who has launched a lot of products there, and from the numbers that I've seen, they seem to do very, very well because you have so many people going to that website every day, tens of thousands of people to explore new things and explore new products of the day. So I felt like it made sense to use it. I think again in hindsight I would have used other channels as well. Social media is also like if you have like a good social media campaign, that could also give you the same set of results, as long as the communication and what you're saying is like the exact same thing. It's like, hey, there's this resource. If you're trying to break into product, you should check it out. It's free for a limited time. That's what I said. And I believe day one, which is very interesting and fascinating, and I didn't expect this. Day one, we got 7,000 downloads in 24 hours of the book. Yeah, it blew my mind. So I was like, bro, like this is insane. I have this like map on my phone that shows, because I was able to capture it with one of the tools that I use, of the people around the world that had downloaded the book, and it was really like inspiring. Like I was very shocked to see that, like, from all parts of the world. So that was very inspiring. But yeah, I think the most important part was being able to at least capture their information. Because if I didn't do that,
That
like,
would have been.
it was just been like a lost. So shout out to Chioma again for like,
pushing you.
for pushing me. Because I was just like, yeah, honestly, I don't care. This is a free resource.
I saw you start selling it on Amazon too now.
Yeah, but again, a lot of the proceeds to that, like, I'm just donating that. So, like, the book is not like a money. And I told myself, I was like, look, we really don't care about making money from the book, because the purpose of the book still remains the same, to like have a resource for people. The only reason why it's on Amazon is because they do print on demand. So they print it and they actually like
send it
distribute
out.
So Amazon also takes like 70%
Of the
it.
money?
Yeah, so it's not that much. So it's just like whatever we get, we just download it. So the ebook is on Gumroad now, and I literally just like hand it to people and just give them a code. Like I don't. There's no desire to sell it, because it's something that again was put together like with community in mind. So all the time I tell people, like, download this book. We can also like hook y'all up with like a code if y'all want, for people to just like download the book, because it's a way to just like more learning
resources.
and stuff like
Sure,
that.
yeah,
free
we can link it down below.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
I think I'll do that. Link down below.
link below. I always wanted to do that, although I don't have a YouTube channel, but
But
Now
you
now's
see
your
it.
chance.
Now's your chance.
Like and
your camera
subscribe.
is that one right there on the
Sure.
left.
All right,
Yeah, look in the camera. Like, link down below, guys.
link down below. Download How to Product for free. Shout out to Hustle Over Everything for hooking y'all up with the coupon code.
And if you're right here, don't forget to comment and also hit that subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe
Yes,
button.
and the like button, please.
And the
Like,
like.
subscribe, and
The like
share.
button.
Tag.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Send it to your
we
friends.
never do that.
We never do
No, you
this at
should.
all.
You should always tell people. Like, people need to be reminded. You need to tell
Yes.
them all the time. Like, subscribe, share, comment, tag, post.
Yeah, man, and also when I hear that on videos, I actually end up like, because I'm liking the video and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna like,
Yeah, exactly.
and I'm gonna hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
it costs nothing to subscribe. Like,
Most
it's
definitely.
legit free. Like, even before I used to think that, do you have to pay to subscribe in the early days of YouTube? But I was like, it's free. So, like, yeah, why don't you just like subscribe to people that you really care about? So yeah, definitely subscribe.
Yo, bro. So I want to talk about like the business and like the economic side of it. So you go ahead and build this business. How do you finance it? And I also saw on LinkedIn you have 53 people that work there. So like I just want to understand the metrics of like who's teaching the course.
Oh my god! that's so
How
funny.
many students have you taught in the past 2 years, and how do you guys make money?
Yeah, that's a good one. So we do not have 53 employees on LinkedIn.
Are those all like instructors? Like
No. So it's so interesting because when you join the program, or even just like on LinkedIn, if you put like something under experience, right? So for example, you might have volunteered part-time for an organization or something. If you put that under experience, LinkedIn counts that as
An
as an employee, so which is not. So we're an incredibly small but powerful team. There's about 8 of us in total, 5 full-time, 3 part-time now. We're hiring 2 more people soon, so like growing our team to 10 hopefully in the new year, so excited about that. So in terms of how we finance it, so we're bootstrapped. So bootstrapped essentially means like, co-founder and I pretty much like invested in trying to get the company off the ground until it started making money. In terms of the business model, we do charge students. So students come to our program and pay to get upskilled, and then after that they're able to progress to the jobs of their dreams, hopefully, or they just have more skills and they feel a lot more confident depending on what they're trying to do, because not everyone who joins our program is trying to find a job. So we have been growing our revenues over the years. So a lot of the investment that my co-founder and I made just helped keep things afloat. So for the first 18 months, or I'll say for the first 16 months, I'll say we didn't get paid at all. My co-founder and I weren't making any money, which is very interesting and scary, because we quit our jobs at tech companies, and we started making zero. I kid you not, $0 every month. I was just living off savings, and it's sometimes it's actually scary. And we live in Toronto. Toronto is a very expensive city.
Yes.
So I think I should have moved to a cheaper city. That was like one regret that I made. That I probably should have made a better financial decision, especially in the pandemic, not living in Toronto. But anyways, I digress. So for the first like 16 months, we didn't pay ourselves. Yeah, I'll say first 16 months. Yeah, actually, yeah, it was first almost 16 months.
I mean, it was 2020 though, so you're at home. You know,
You're saving money. Like your expenses are like.
But you're still paying rent. Like, rent is expensive.
Were you at Jarvis at that time?
Yeah, I was at Jarvis.
Oh shit!
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was here. So like Toronto rent, like rent is like, even if you're working, or rent is like 30% of like what you're making. Some people's 50%, depends, right? So that is still like huge expense, huge hole, and then you gotta eat, even though you're not doing anything else.
And then travel, like you gotta Uber, you gotta do this.
I mean, but at least thankfully pandemic, you're not spending
Panini,
as much money.
Yeah.
But like up until even 2021, when things started going out, like we weren't paying ourselves then. So, but now the business is growing. We thank God. Right now we've graduated over 500 students in the past 2 years. From 30 different countries who have gone through our training program as product managers, product designers, and software engineers. We have a program completion rate of 95%. So 95% of people who start the program end up completing it.
That's huge.
Which is like a very important metric for us, because a lot of online courses, a lot of people just drop off.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time with the accountability, trying to make sure we vet good people, and of course it's not perfect. Some people do drop off, but it's one thing that we're very proud of. And we also look at the increase in confidence. 98% of people report being more confident, and we're proud to say 85% of our grads get jobs within 6 months of completing the program. So that's a number that we're trying to increase. We're trying to also reduce the time for the job search from 6 months to maybe 3 months. So we're seeing a lot of growth. So in the next year, our goal, and we will do this, we want to train 1,000 students within the next year. So in the next calendar year. So by the end of 2023, we'll have probably 1,500 total, or more. So we're excited about that, and we're setting the foundations to be able to do that. With that comes growth, and you gotta learn more things and figure out all other things. But I think it's been a journey and a half. And building a business comes with a lot of sacrifice, and thinking about not making money for a long time in the pandemic. Right now we're in a recession, and I'm not getting paid close to anything that I was earning when I was working in big tech. Not even 10% of what I was earning in big tech. And
so right now you're just pay the bills.
Just pay the bills. As long as you can pay the bills and eat. Well, technically just pay rent and eat.
They call that the ramen hustle.
Ramen, yeah. So I'll say once you're ramen. So right now, once you're ramen profitable, I think that's a good place to be. That you can pay your bills. At least the foundational ones. You can have a roof over your head. You can eat. All the other things are excess. So I think you get to then build from a place of comfort, and just find ways to but again, start Colab is not a wealth creation startup. It's not a tech company. Traditional tech companies are the ones that you're building software, and you can have 10 million users one day, or you're growing towards that, and it's so much easier to do that. We're training people, and training people takes time, and you're dealing with humans at the end of the day, and the lifetime value of one human is only so much, because you can only train them once. Sometimes they won't go through the program again, so there's no recurring revenue. So the economics of the company that we're running, which is essentially an online school, we're tech enabled, but we're not a tech company. It's different from when you're running a SaaS business. If you're my customer, even if you're paying me $5 every month, I know that till perpetuity, eventually you continue giving me that $5 is guaranteed. And that's why a lot of SaaS founders they're happy once they acquire customers, and as long as I don't lose you, that $5 is coming into my pocket. We have to go out and find new customers every time.
Yeah. Do you have a sales team?
No, not yet. Very soon, hopefully. Yeah. That's what we want to invest in next year. So I think we've accepted it. We know why we're doing it. We absolutely love it. We're big on community. We're big on impact. And I think once we realize the impact that we're making, I think that is okay for us. And we feel very happy with it. It's because you're really changing lives. And I remember someone in our program who didn't go to college and came to our program, software engineer, and ended up getting a job at Microsoft in Seattle in the HQ. Person is there now working, and it's just your life changes, right? Because like, you know, now you have like a higher paying salary, and you know, I don't know the reason why they didn't go to college or whatever, but now there's the opportunity, like, you know, if money was a barrier, now you can send your kids to college because now you're working at a company that will help support you in all those ways. So it's really life changing. And even when I think about my family, like my great grandfather like was a herdsman. He was like you know, just like herding sheep and whatever. And I think once you get more and more educated, my grandfather was like a clerk, you know, you get more and more educated, and that provides value for your family. So I think when you're educating someone, which is what we're doing, and transforming their lives, you get to educate generations, so that compounds. And I think that is really fulfilling, and that's one of the reasons why we do what we do. So excited about where Colab is going. We want to train as many people as possible, and we're big fans of the way that we learn, and we want other people to adopt the same way of like experiential learning, where it's like simulated to feel like very real. Because we've taken a page from like medicine, law, and accounting, that when you go to med school, when you go to law school, you're learning very similar things that you learn on the job, which is very valuable, and we're trying to do that for tech, and we certainly hope that we succeed.
No, most definitely. Would you ever, are you thinking about partnering with other companies? Like, let's say Scotiabank wants, you know, a project manager. Is that one of the things you're considering?
Yeah, we're actually talking to some companies about upskilling some of their employees. So it's like another business arm that would focus on that probably has the ability to make a lot more money, because you're not relying on individuals paying. So something that we are exploring, and yeah, we're excited about that. But it's like a different kind of business. You need like different sets of people.
Yeah, you need more different teams.
Yeah, different teams, do more BDR, like managing those relationships. But it's something that we are considering. Yeah,
most definitely. How are you acquiring your customers?
So right now, like 60% of our customers are actually organic from LinkedIn. So we post a lot on LinkedIn. Our students post, and they're excited about the things that they do, the things that they build. So they are encouraged to build in public. So other people see that, and they're curious, and they see that, you know, our students are successful, and then they come through. One of the best customer acquisition stories that I've heard, because we're always particular about measuring where everyone comes from, that one of our grads got a job at a company, and that job was down to like 2 people, and the person that didn't get it did research on the person that got it and noticed that she went through Colab. So she was like, so I didn't get this job because I didn't go through Colab. So she signed up for our program and went through Colab. So that was like interesting to see and to understand that the impact of when your students are successful, which is one of the reasons why we want to make our students successful, is like our students say that, hey, I'm joining this Colab program, or this is what I'm building, and later on, a couple months, they announce that, oh, they're in a new role doing this. You think about it and you'll be like, oh, wow, like this person did this, and so a lot of the times when we interview students, like, hey, where'd you hear about us? Like, oh, LinkedIn, one friend, this. So I'll say like 60% of our customers just come through that, like LinkedIn or word of mouth. We're doing a lot more partnerships now and trying to like find other avenues and distribution channels.
You know, I was thinking could be a slick way of getting people in.
Yeah,
is having like a project management ad. Like this, like having like an Indeed ad of project management, and then just having people apply, and then just
so
you kind of don't get in. So
it's so interesting because we're trying that. Someone has advised us that before, so it's not like before. I was a bit like iffy about it because I didn't want to. So what I initially thought that was putting up a fake job description, but it's not that. Indeed actually has ads whereby if people are searching, I'm like, hey, need more experience, join Colab. It's something that we need to look into. I should actually write that down. Did I bring my note? Well, I didn't bring my notepad, but
no. You have your notes on your phone.
It's okay, bro. We're recording it for you.
Yeah. You got
but I
this.
need to remember because someone told me about it again. It's like, oh, you should do that, and we haven't done that yet, so we should really look into it. But yeah, we need to hire like a marketing, someone like marketing
To do the ads? You got right there.
to help do that. Yeah, so we did a marketing hire, so I can talk to you about like we have like a JD that we're gonna put out. So if you know folks, please, like we need people that role has been giving me sleepless nights.
All right, man, for sure we can talk. So if I was to ask you, what's the cheat code to get into tech without being able to code? What would you say?
There's several ways. So I also want to start by saying I don't think like a lot of people say this that product management is a good way to get into tech because I don't have to code. There's several other roles that you can do without having to code and still make the big bucks if that's what the promise of tech is. Sales, marketing, customer support, business development.
Customer support makes a lot of money?
Yeah, customer success depends on the company. Depends on the company. Yeah, you can make over 100K in some companies doing that customer success. Yeah, it really depends. So it's not like customer success compared to like customer support. So for example, in Shopify they call it merchant success. So merchant success roles, I think like their starting is like 80K or something like that. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's pretty much like customer support, but it's like in a refined way.
Yeah.
So you could do that, you could do policy, you could do technical writing, you could do user experience research, you could do UX. So these are things that you don't necessarily have to know how to code. For roles such as like sales, BDR, and all those things, like there's almost like a playbook that you follow. Like, so if you're good, for example, with sales, if you actually have the right personality type and you join a company and that company has like a good sales like playbook for sales, I think you can like get in there and like do very well, especially since like sales, they actually get like bonuses based off like if you hit your quota. I know someone was making like crazy money, like high six figures, because the person is just extremely good. And one thing I love about like people in sales, like they're always very transparent. There's always a leaderboard. At least the times where you are in office, you see who are the top people. And I remember when I was working at, there was this company, one of my previous company, and this girl was always at the top. Like, and the space between first and second was like, it's like she was doing 3 or 4 people's jobs. She was just like extremely good at it. So there are sometimes like if you got it, you got it, and you're in tech, you're working at a tech company, you're getting paid sometimes more than developers. So
yeah, some salespeople, man, they earn like 350, 400 with commission.
Yeah.
Like they're eating. That's why you see some salespeople stay in one company for 5+ years. Like for example, at Alita, when I was there. This one chick, she was always president.
The person that you're talking about.
At Alita?
Huh?
At Alita?
Or someone else.
Yeah. But she's President's Club every single quarter, every single year. So President's Club is like the prestigious of all salespeople. Like if you put I was President's Club at so-and-so company and it's notable, like you are an immediate like rock star salesperson, like account executive. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
And like, how many developers are making 350 cash, not total comp, but like RSUs or stock options? So like you can do the research as to like, hey, what do you like doing? What are your strong abilities? What is your unique ability? And then how can you use that to transition? But if I wanted to answer that question with product management, like what is the cheat code and get into product management, I would say you need to be able to like demonstrate a lot of the important, valuable skills that companies are looking for. There's a lot of the soft skills and there's a lot of the hard skills. A lot of the soft skills is like, great communication, user empathy, customer obsession, being organized, all of that good stuff. But at the same time, they want to see hard things that you've done. Like, how have you solved a customer problem? How have you moved a metric? How have you improved the lives of people that you serve, right? And how are you thinking about that? And you can frame that in different ways, even if you haven't really worked in product management, but you've done something similar, or even as an entrepreneur, for example. Like, let's say you had like a brick and mortar store. If you express how you have, improved the customer satisfaction rating of that brick and mortar, that is thinking like a product manager, right? Let's say you even improved Google review, or you implemented Google reviews, and you say that, you know, you're able to like get the restaurants to 4.8 stars on Google reviews, having 300 reviews in the span of 6 months. That is impressive. That is talking like a product manager, because you've solved the problem for how do people notice your business now, and how do you showcase that you have good customer satisfaction out in the public, and that improves your discovery. It's even better when you can even say, since that happened, the amount of traffic that you now have in the store has improved by X%. So you're talking like a product, and those are the hard skills people want to see, that okay, you are able to identify a problem, come up with a way to solve it, and follow a particular process to solve it and see it through. So I always tell people, like, you know, think about the soft skills, think about the hard skills. A lot of people have the soft skills because just by being human, you can be a good product manager. I feel like everyone has the ability to be a product manager if you really think critically, love solving problems, you're clear at communicating, and you just have better mannerisms and more professionality than other people.
You also have to be a business, people person too.
Yeah, you have to be a people person. But I've seen good introverts who are also good product managers, even though they're like hate talking to people a lot. Sometimes you just have to like muscle through it, but you don't necessarily have to be. And there's, again, obviously different flavors of product management. But I think what's missing for people that know that they have the soft skills, they're like, oh my God, someone give me a chance, is the hard skills, and how do you communicate, stuff like that. And I would say the easiest way is, like, if you honestly building something is the most impressive thing that you can do to a hiring manager. And building something doesn't necessarily have to mean technical, like app or software or developers. Like, if you have a Shopify store, and if you have made, even if it's like $1,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 from it, right? If you can show me you've done that without somebody telling you exactly what to do, you yourself had an idea, came up with a product, and you sold it, that is impressive. That's going to be way more impressive than people just coming in front of the door and saying, hey, I have great communication skills. No. So being able to show something you can show is better than what you can say. Something that's real, something that's tangible is better than anything that you want to say if you want to prove. So showing something is important. The way I got my first product management job, I built an app in university, which was supposed to be my startup at that time. I took that app that barely made it off the ground. Outside of my friends and family who downloaded it, like, that app didn't go anywhere. I took it into those interviews, and I was showing all my interviewers, oh, this is the app, this is what it did. Give it to them. They played with it, and they're like, damn, you built this? I was like, I didn't build this. We had a team. We built this as a team, but I was there trying to figure out what we needed to build. And that was way more impressive than anything they had seen at that time. That's how I got like different offers after interviewing at the top tech companies. That's how I made it into Microsoft. So you need to show something. And when you can show something, like, that allows you to be better than other people. So don't just have a resume, have a portfolio, showcase something that people can go and play with. And anytime I've interviewed and hired product managers in the past in previous companies, I personally would never even interview someone if they don't have a website on their resume. That was just like a personal thing. Not all hiring managers like website. That. Yeah, like, why don't you have a personal website or like a portfolio that can showcase what you can do? Yeah, you're gonna want me to read. Do you know how many resumes I'm reading? And now I'm reading all these points and trying to see if you can do what you can do. When you have a website, bam, put it in, play around with like the different things that you've done or that you've built. I'm like, wow, this is impressive. I want to talk to this person. So that was like my rule of thumb. Whenever I like screened, like, if you didn't have a website, immediate no for me.
They don't pass the eye test.
They don't even pass it, man. I don't care what metrics you're putting in there. If you don't have a website, like, you should have taken the initiative to like showcase. Because like, resume is one page. You can't tell a lot. You can put something on your website that like.
But same thing with the website though. A website you can literally just Squarespace in a day have a website.
Yes, but at least that gives you more real estate to put more things inside. You can even say like, oh, you have a podcast, or you have your photography, or you have all these other things there that you can showcase beyond that piece of paper. And that makes. There was a guy that I recently I invited him to an interview simply because on his resume he had a link to his Spotify. He was a musician. It was a role that we were hiring for at Colab, right? It wasn't for a PM role, but I looked at the resume and he was like, he's an artist. This is a Spotify link. Went to it, played it. I was like, shit, this guy is like, like, he's an artist, right? And I interviewed him. Yeah, yes,
he
he didn't
good?
get the job. No, like as a Spotify artist.
He went around it.
No, the Spotify.
He wasn't good?
It doesn't matter. I don't think about it, but I think it's
He
like,
wasn't good.
I think it was
He got to the
impressive
door,
enough.
but he couldn't make it in.
No. As a candidate, he wasn't good for the job.
Yeah.
But at least he got into the door. Like I would not have interviewed him if he didn't have that, right? So that was like at least getting you through the door. And if you're impressive enough, like maybe you would have gotten the job, right? And again, he could have been, but we had obviously way better candidates. But when you showcase something beyond just like paper and metrics, you're becoming a human that can connect with someone. Like I love music, so the fact that somebody was an artist made me excited that, okay, do you know, what is this person? I want to like speak to this person. So it could be other things. It could be art. It could be photography. And your hiring manager could be into that. One of my good friends got a job at Apple because he connected. Hey, don't get me wrong, he still needs to have the hard skills that they're looking for. But he connected with his interviewer over badminton. He plays badminton. And while they were talking on the phone, they talked about that for 30 minutes. I kid you. His first round interview was like all technical, hard stuff. Second round interview was like more culture fit. Let me see about this person. And they spent 30 minutes talking about badminton. This man got the job. Because they can picture themselves working with you because like, oh, you're a cool guy. Like, that's what I care about. You've passed all the hard skills and everything, but then when you're trying to like do the most and try to impress, like just be a human. But to not, sway around the point that I'm making, hard skills, soft skills, super important. Make sure you can find ways to communicate those hard skills to your hiring manager. And I think that's the best way that you can get hired in product management.
I want to focus a little bit on that badminton story, particularly because I find this in a lot of hiring practices. It's like looking for a culture fit.
Yeah.
Right. So culture fit can actually be very discriminatory.
Yeah.
Because, for example, like I might be finding interest or common interest with badminton with you, but then there's another guy who could be maybe from like a Asian background or something that doesn't have to do with like the North American Western culture that we live in. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I go to the cottage, or I play squash, or all these different things, right? So it's a way it can eliminate a lot of people. So what do you think about people who work so hard to get in these jobs, but then someone just gets through the door because them and the hiring manager like badminton?
Yeah. I think I want to acknowledge that it's like a sad reality.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. And generally, because if you think about it, the workplace is filled with people who do not look like us or who are not representative of the world that's out there. And sadly, hiring on any level is about being able to connect with the human. It's like the skills are very important, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it at some point when you get to certain stages is more about like, can I picture myself working with you? And you want to pick people that you find it easy to work with them because it will just make your life easier. Unless companies are very intentional about changing that status quo, then you wouldn't find that, because you find that people look the same because they get the same. Like if you're a frat boy, you obviously like mesh with other frat boys, and like the cycle.
It's like, oh yeah, you're a part of that fraternity. Oh yeah,
yeah,
man.
Exactly. And I just use that because I didn't want to use any racial terminology.
Exactly.
But you know what I'm referring to.
Of course.
But and I think that is the reality of things. But the other side of it, and truthfully, is like those other people that get in the door, they still, most of them, not all of them, they still have those, they've still showcased that they have those other skills that they're looking for. So yes, it's discriminatory, but like 8 times out of 10, they're hiring people who can also get the job done. But that's not the point. The point is like, how do we, get people who like, it's essentially equal opportunity. Exactly. You want to be able to have that. And the solution isn't like, only apply to companies where there's only people like you, or like only black people, or only, Asian people, because like that wouldn't solve the problem. I think it's about being very intentional about like your hiring practices, making sure that you're sponsoring, initiatives that allow people at least build the skills. So by the time they get to that space, there isn't any bias there. And I do think like at some point, like companies try to remove some of that, like when it comes to that culture fit, which is why a lot of people have core values. So once you're now like figure out people on the core values side, then it makes it a lot better for people to sort of like come in based off of the fact that, hey, you're going to mesh with this core value, not just like mesh with this individual. But there's still practices whereby there's a panel. If one person says no, you're not getting hired. And some big companies still do that till today, even though you have all the skills. So it's really tough. It's not perfect. I also try to be very objective in my hiring, because like now I hire people and there's this balance that you have to make between like, okay, you need someone to do the job, but you also want to make sure you give equal opportunity to everyone. So something I always remind myself about, being intentional about, you know, providing opportunities for people, removing any bias that I have, and trying to make sure that everyone who comes into the door has showcased that they deserve to be there and they have an equal shot at everything else. But again, you still find the occasional times where you connect with somebody over like a Spotify playlist or over soccer that obviously weighs everything, which is why it's also important to involve other people in the process. So as part of the things that we do is like everyone has to talk to someone before we make a decision. So you're not leaning towards one person and it's not one person's decision, and we it's also not unanimous, but you have like some form of like scoreboard that can track different things that you're looking for, so you can actually point out the objective things that is required for the job, instead of just like, oh, I like this person, or me and this person will get along.
Yeah. We spoke a lot about like the soft skills of like being a PM. Like you got to be able to manage people, you got to be able to do this, you got to be able to like talk to customers, but put some light on the tools that we can master in towards becoming a product manager. Like what certain frameworks exist out there, like maybe like there's like Excel sheets that are there, there's automation tools, there's feedback tools, like that whole stack of things that you can start practicing. Because like from what we've spoken about, it seems like, yeah, you just got to be this person, but what are those things in your tool bag you need to have and you need to learn about to be able to like harness everything together from like the soft side of things?
Yeah, so this is perhaps like an unpopular opinion on my end, but I personally don't think you need any toolbox. I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but you know, because obviously on your resume you want to say, oh, you know how to use Jira and everything. Like, I'm not going to hire you simply because like if there are two product managers, one has experience, the other person doesn't have experience, and you think I will hire you because you know how to use Jira, because it's one of the most popular project management tools. Because like with whatever tool that a company uses, you would figure it out.
Yeah.
When it comes to product management, because most product management tools are communication tools and organizational tools, right? And obviously you can communicate in different ways. You can communicate with presentations, so you can use like obviously like PowerPoint, or like what's the one Apple uses again?
Apple.
Yeah, Apple has a presentation. I can't remember.
Apple has a
It's presentation. It's called.
I actually use it. I love it, but I can't remember. Apple has a presentation.
I know what it is, man.
Yes, I'm just like.
Man, it's gonna piss me off if I don't get it.
No, I think scroll to the other side. The other side. It's Keynote.
Keynote.
There we go. Keynote. Yeah, so yeah,
Who
Keynote.
use Keynote?
I use Keynote. Yeah, I use Keynote.
Man, listen, Canva, one time, bro.
It's actually Canva now. Exactly.
Canva's
So,
way better. Shout out Canva.
shout out Canva.
Shout out to the parents.
Shout out to the parents.
Shout out to all the parents.
So that is a way of communicating, right? So a lot of times you can't measure a lot of that. And then again, you could know how to use Slack, a company uses Discord. You can know how to use Jira, the company they're joining uses Asana or Trello. So all those things are not important as long as you're willing to like dive in and understand the tools
Figure it out.
that they're using. So for example, designers use Figma a lot. Do PMs need to know how to use Figma? Not necessarily. But would you be able to work better with your designer if you know how to use Figma and prototype and like put your ideas down? Of course, you'd be more effective, right? Would you be better communicating with your developers if you can code? Of course. But now, are we going to now tell every product manager that now they know how to code, they know how to learn all the languages? So yes, you do have an edge if you know a lot of those things like the Figma, if you know how to code, if you know how to like use GitHub, you can like solve merge conflicts. Because like if you wanted to like put up a PR and your developer can see it and you can build camaraderie there, yes. But is that like a huge part of the job? Not necessarily. I feel like that can make you like, you know, an A star or whatever if you wanted to do that. But I don't think it's like a prereq. A lot of the times you be evaluated with your product thinking, your thought leadership, and your ability to solve problems. So that's what most people are evaluating as a PM compared to like, oh man, this guy could solve so many problems, but man, he couldn't use Figma or he couldn't use Jira. Like I've never heard that before. I've never heard that. So I feel like a lot of like junior PMs try to over-index on that and say like, oh, I know how to use the tools, I know how to use Jira, which is why even in our program we tell students like use whatever tool works for you. Like we're not trying to put you in this box and tell you that, oh, because you're using Jira now that's what's going to get you the job. No. It's a lot about the experiences, the good and bad, because again, if you showcase that you have failed and you failed woefully, interviewers will appreciate that. I'm like, wow, you can recognize that you messed up big time, and they're sure that that wouldn't happen again. Depends on the kind of mess up, but you know, every failure is usually helpful.
Most definitely, no failures, only lessons. What has been your biggest challenge building your business?
The biggest challenge, I feel like it's always a different challenge every season. But here's what I would say. I would say the biggest challenge is perhaps the market that we're in. You know, unfortunately, education is severely underfunded, and it's something that there isn't enough information about the right things to do. You almost have to like educate the entire market about what you're trying to do, because again, like I said earlier, universities would push this agenda of, okay, you know, you get this certificate, you get this degree, you get a job. That's the promise of university. Like universities have been failing for tens of years, even hundreds of years, some universities. But no one questions them because they're the big authority that we're always used to. So you almost have to like educate the market that, hey, it's not a university going to, because they teach product management in university now. I'm just like, why? And some programs are good and getting better, but a lot of those people don't set people up for success. A lot of people are not promising the right things. So I'll say it's very challenging to convince students over otherwise. This was also very challenging to, you know, take money from students. I don't like taking money from students personally, and that's just the problem with the market and the fact that education is seriously underfunded. So if we're a government organization now, that government tells us like, hey, we need to like make product managers better, like it's a lot easier on the students. It's a lot easier for us because now we have a good incentive from the government supporting a lot of these organizations to help upskill people, that ultimately gets them the job and prepares them for that. So a lot of that is just not there. So I think it's just like a general battle. When you're in education, education is one of those few services that you provide whereby people are giving you their time and their money. Right, so it's a lot on the people who are going through the process, compared to like if I want someone to mow my lawn, I pay them, my lawn gets mowed. I don't have to move from my couch. But now you're paying, and then you have to study and you have to like be available and all that. So it's just very difficult and it's very challenging, and you want to see results immediately. So the nature of the promise of education and the market and the mentality around it makes a lot of things a lot more difficult than they are. So it's just like a constant battle trying to like manage a lot of those moving pieces in people's minds, and also in our mind as an organization, which is like, again, being true to your vision and knowing that, look, you really want to help as many people as possible. It's not for wealth creation. Because yeah, if I wanted like a wealth creation startup, I should like be focusing on building software that I can just build this app once, it can reach like millions of people and all of that. But I think like what brings me the most joy is like what I'm doing right now. And there's just like a lot of like structural societal things that are just very difficult to navigate, but I think we're getting better at it every time, and we want to continue to like push for this mission and encourage a lot of people. But yeah, again, just to even go deeper in what I'm saying, for example, to go to university, you go into debt. Like that is not fair, for people who want to get educated so they can get a job. So like that's exactly the example of what I'm saying regarding like the market and the whole industry of education is like it's not fulfilling the promise of what it's supposed to do. So everyone gets affected by that, even though not us directly, because we try not to put people in debt, or we don't do loans, or at least right now. Maybe we'll do it in the future, but like I don't like the fact that people have to pay to get educated, because of course not everyone has access to the funds to do. So it's just like a very big issue, a very giant issue. So we're trying to find ways to even make our program more and more accessible to people. But it's something I think about. I'm like, damn, education, edtech, such. Because like, yeah, you could be in e-commerce or in crypto and you just be making the big bucks, and but
yeah. On that topic, man, you come from like Waterloo, building a tech product, and now you're building an educational system, right?
Yeah.
As someone who saw these entrepreneurs doing these things, and then you know what it takes to scale to really build that wealth, do you still feel that pull to go back and build a tech product and be that quote unquote tech entrepreneur that we talk about, raising money, hundreds of thousands of users? How do you feel about now that you're in this position now?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I do think about that. My co-founder sometimes reminds me and tells me, and she's a very hardworking, caring, and supportive person. Because sometimes she tells me, like, for me, there's other things that you could be doing as well. And I think as part of me recognizing that and us recognizing that and still choosing this, I think that there's something there that we're trying to. It's almost like we're fighting the good fight. But yes, I do think about that. I have friends that have raised millions and millions of dollars, friends that I've mentored, friends that we've worked together, people that we've classmates, and they're building products. I have friends that have companies worth $1 billion. But a lot of times they look at me and they tell me that like what you're doing is a lot more impactful than what they're doing. A friend of mine who has raised like hundreds of millions of dollars, he looked at me and said, Sefunmi, do you know that Colab has made more impact and has made more money than my company? Straight up. And then I appreciate the honesty, because like even though the world of the venture-backed companies doing all these amazing things is like very glamorous, and that's what society celebrates.
Yeah.
It's not all it seems inside, and I'm grateful for the friends who are there letting me know and telling me that like, hey, Sefunmi, you're not missing much. So even though I think about it, because like, yeah, I could be on TechCrunch, I could raise this, blah blah blah, but inside it could be like, damn, we don't know what we're doing, or like, we're still trying to figure things out. And like I know companies, friends of mine, like they have been around for multiple years. They haven't delivered any single customer value since they have existed.
But yet they've raised money.
Yes, they've raised money. But that's just the nature. Like investors will fund, like think about what was happening last year. People are funding ideas and they will give you 10 million that you haven't done anything, and it will take you 3 years to build something, and you ended up building that thing and it doesn't even work. Right, that's just the nature of the VC model. You build this, you paint this amazing vision, and I'm not saying that all entrepreneurs are not trying to accomplish that vision, because a lot of people, including my friends, are trying to accomplish that vision, but they realize that it's a lot harder than it seems. So it's to not get lost in that. So I'm constantly reminded that if we don't get lost in those inputs that you can control. So right now, what I can control is like, look, I am making the impact. Yes, 500 users, 500 students. It's small, but I'm very, very grateful for every single one of those people that I know we have changed their lives on a deep level.
Mm-hmm.
On a very, very deep. To educate someone and transform their life, it's like a very deep thing. Think about a lot of the apps that we use. Again, yes, it does solve our problem, but like how much of the problem does it solve? Like, yes, maybe it makes life a lot more easier and a lot more convenient, but there are very, very few apps that you can really think about, like, hey, how is it impacting you on a very, very deep level that is transforming your life? If it's not like maybe like an information resource, or you're using it to like read books, or using it to like train
Even like
yourself,
learning a
or
language.
learning a language or stuff like that. Like a lot of it is just like, again, entertainment is important. Like passing time is important as well, because sometimes you need that. But when you're impacting people on a deep level, there are very few products that do that, and not a lot of them are the most glamorous, talked about things, because everyone wants the cool, trendy stuff, which again is exciting and has purpose and has its place in society. But I've come to tell myself that, hey, that is not my role. That is not what I'm doing. I love educating people. I'm very passionate about education. And I think that's something that I want to continue to do. Like, I've educated product managers. I want to do my best to educate other founders as well, so they have the right amount of information while they are building their companies, to know what options that they have and how they can continue to stay true to themselves, their core values, and hopefully their customers. So it's something that I think about, and education is something that would always be a big part of my life. Whether or not I'll build like a tech product in the future, I don't know. But ultimately, at the core of it, I'm always been a big fan of impacting people on a deep level. So it'll have to be, along those lines.
Yeah.
Well, even though it's a tech-enabled product, it's still quite scalable, to be fair. It's very scalable, all you need is the people that, you can systematize, and then, bring it to cities. Like, I think it could blossom in specific cities: San Fran, New York, Atlanta, Texas. Well, it's a state, not a city, but you know what I'm saying?
Like Austin or Dallas. Dallas is getting huge in tech.
Yeah, I
too.
heard Dallas also. I'm going to Houston in a couple months actually, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, I've heard good things about like Austin, Dallas, Houston as well, tech scene. And yeah, I've been exploring because we have students in a lot of these hubs, so I've been exploring. So I spend a lot of time in New York, San Francisco, recently. So we have like fair bit of students there. So it's very interesting to just like work with people, see people in person, because our program is all virtual. You don't get to see all our students. I feel very emotional whenever like I see them.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say, man, it's actually good that you realize that, because who knows, if you're building like a tech product, you'll be miserable.
Not necessarily. It can be fun.
It could be fun.
Building tech product can be fun.
It could be fun, but like the level of like, we get in this space, especially as entrepreneurs, you could be comparing yourself with others. Like, damn, my homie is worth 80 mil on paper, 100 mil on paper, and I'm doing this, but like, damn, I'm changing this person's life. So you can take it either way, but I'd rather be in your position where.
Thank you. That's flattering. I know a lot of people who will still say they'd rather be in the other position, because like they don't care, because like, it really depends what you optimize for. But
if you're optimizing for wealth, yeah, if you're optimizing for wealth, for sure. But if you're optimizing for impact, I take legacy over currency any day, bro.
Legacy, I love that. Legacy over currency. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I should use that in a rhyme. Legacy, currency.
Goes well. It's straight bars.
Yeah, it goes well. Bars. Yeah.
Word. So, what has been your biggest enlightenment moment with your company?
Yeah, the biggest enlightenment moment. That's an easy one. Customer acquisition is the most important thing that you can focus on in a business. Yeah, that's the most enlightening. And I think it took me a long time to learn, because like you spend time perfecting our program, and our program is amazing. Has a lot of moving pieces. It's extremely difficult. I know other people that have tried this model and have failed. Spoken to other entrepreneurs who have said, "Oh yeah, I've had that idea before. I tried it before, but it didn't work." It's very difficult. I know for sure. So we spend time making sure like our because there's different moving pieces. We have like almost like 4 different stakeholders. So we spend a lot of time perfecting that, not a lot of time on the customer acquisition side, which isn't a problem, because like, again, we're getting a lot of our customers organically, but that limits the number that you can, like how many friends have other friends that want to be product managers or product designers. So you almost have to like go out of your way to find other creative ways to acquire customers that is not very expensive. And I think that early on, I think like over the past 2 years, we haven't focused on that. Because I think if we had built a flywheel of how do you acquire customers at a cheap way, or at a cheaper way, it's business is easier for business to blossom. So I'm learning more about different customer acquisition strategies that helps us scale. Because it took us 2 years to do 500, and now I want to do 1,000 students in the next year. So that's like incredible. We're gonna like essentially 4x in 1 year.
And what's your pricing like again, man?
Yeah, so pricing again changes all the time. So sometimes I always don't say, but it ranges from. So right now we've actually created a specific accessible program for PMs, a 4-week program that I talked about that is just 500. But the main core Colab experience for product managers, product designers, software developers working together. So that ranges depending on the role from $1,000 to $4,000. So again, still cheaper than like a tech bootcamp that costs tens of thousands of dollars, like 10, 15K. But we try to keep it very accessible. And I think like if I had to pick like a max amount that I'll charge customers, as I'm just charging customers, it's probably just $5,000. Because like beyond that, I'll feel very bad, even though again, like the transition is very clear. Like, okay, maybe I'm making like 70K right now. You want to get a product management job that can get you 90K, right? You make that 5K investment and that 90K will compound over time. So the wise ones can see it like easily, but again, not everyone is in a financial position to cough out 5K, even though it's spread across multiple months. Like we have payment plans and whatnot, but it's like their company should be paying for it, but not every company also supports learning and development, and there's a cap at the budget, or the government should be paying for it. Like look at the things that are happening in the Nordic countries that education is free. Things like that need to work so people can actually elevate. And there's a societal impact as well, because these people go into jobs and they'll build products in these companies that will impact society. So I think, again, governments or other organizations need to actually bear that cost so they can move people forward. But yeah, I'll say, but in terms of like pricing, it ranges from like 500 to 5K, I guess, if I had to put like a low end and a high end. But we have a ton of free resources. We're reading other books. We're working on a free email course as well, because again, a lot of the things that we preach, we're very open about the things that you need to do. And if people find those resources and transition without having to go through our program, that's great. We're happy. We don't feel like, we've lost something. But naturally, that there are people that need additional help, right? Some people can't do it on their own. And we recognize that, which is why we want to like help people as well.
Most definitely. As you work towards wrapping up, where can people find you?
Twitter, LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Sefunmi Osinaike. Twitter is Sefunmi @Sefunmi Oshy, or she, which is like half of my last name but spelled in a different way. So at Sefunmi Sefunmi Oshy. Sefunmi on Twitter. On LinkedIn, I'm Sefunmi Osinaike. I'm trying to be active on both of them. There's a lot.
You're dropping a lot of heat on LinkedIn, bro.
Really? Oh gosh, I feel very cringe when I post.
Have you seen the cringe calculator? The LinkedIn post.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh my God. Yeah, LinkedIn is very cringe, but I try to be. I think the way that I've justified posting that frequently is being true to myself. Understanding like what do I want to share, because the reality is like, yes, my friends might find it cringe and be like, yo, shit, for me, like, what was that? But other people might find it very valuable. Yeah. Right. Other people who are not in your circle, who are not judging you, are like, wow, this is helpful. This is what I needed to hear. So I'm trying to just like stay true to like, hey, what is real to me? What doesn't sound cringe? And what do I want to put out there? So I'm trying to make more time to like make more content and share. Because that's like the easiest way you can like reach the most people.
And LinkedIn posts, they go crazy. If it gets a lot of like engagement,
yeah,
it goes wild.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't cracked it yet. I know I have a friend, he has a business as well. He's cracked it. Like his posts get like 3,000, up to 10,000 likes.
There's that Shopify guy.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
That's the one. I was like, man, I know he's talking about. Is it Toby or
Toby? Yeah. He's great. He has I've spoken to him about it. He understands, like he has a playbook. He knows what works, man. He's cracked it. But again, he was very consistent. He was posting on LinkedIn for a whole year. Every day for 1 year, he didn't miss. And then he started to learn. So a lot of people want to just come, myself included, and like go viral immediately. Like that's not how it works. You gotta like learn what works and stuff like that. And somebody else that's doing what he's doing might not work the same way. So you need to like almost build at
Find
it.
out what works for you.
So find out what works for you. So I'm trying to figure out what works for me. So I'm trying to dedicate time because that could be where you get your leads.
Most definitely. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the podcast. The house is what you can control. So control your grind and control your life. I'm Alex.
I'm Owen Osinde.
And I'm Sefunmi Osinaike.
Nice to show y'all.
Peace. Have a great week, everyone.